Pretty classic Japan.
It was
that,
fucking
that,
hilarious.
that level of insanity.
It was so good.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We're doing another bullshit in video games. We got another special guest today, Chris. Why don't you say hello, Chris?
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
He's we're gonna talk about some fantasy today.
Fantasy, cartoons,
All right,
games. You know,
all right.
everything that's in the title.
Ymir came out. Have you looked into it at
Ymir.
all?
Did we talk
Yeah.
about going with Ymir? Was that the really big one that was Age of Empires like?
Yeah.
I really want to, but you said something that really scared me off.
I know. I kind of scared myself. What happened is I read the reviews.
Yeah.
Like the day it came out, I went on and read the reviews, and people were like, "It's full of glitches," because it's just one guy developing the game.
Glitches I don't mind, but what you said that scared me was that the guy
Oh.
from Ymir seems to have the issue with just kicking people for like he kicks and then you're out and that's it, and it's just like, all right, I understand if there's
I think
something.
I was saying that about a different game.
Were you okay?
But you actually did remind me of what I did tell you about Ymir, is that one of the comments said that there is actually no single player.
That's okay.
It says it, but like there's no AI to fight against, so you're just alone in the world. Is what the comment made it out to sound like. Maybe they fixed it since then.
Well, because I thought it was all multiplayer, like you're playing on a huge multiplayer map.
The impression I got when I was researching it was that it was sort of a persistent world that you exist in.
Okay.
And I assume that there would be other tribes of
Yeah, because they
like
showed
AI.
battles and stuff in the
Yeah, but I
trailer.
presume that now after reading that comment again, I haven't looked into it since then. I should. I
There's
think that
nothing
was
wrong
all
with
just
waiting a little bit and seeing how
multiplayer.
because, like you said, it's just been released.
Yeah.
And it's how much is it? Something like 70 something, isn't it?
I think it's like $10 or something like that.
Yeah.
So
It's R&B, right?
that'd be $15, something like that. So it's expensive enough.
I'd still, if it starts getting good reviews, or if, like even later on, if it goes on sale, download that. Because if me and Jerry can play together, then
Oh, I got World of Warships, but it won't work.
really,
Every single time I try to get on, I've tried every day since I downloaded it last week. It always says connection issue. It can't find the server. It can't
you
connect to
don't,
the server.
even if you read, no matter how many times you try, because
No matter how many times.
that
And-
sucks. Because that game's
and-
pretty fun.
And I don't try it with VPN. Off VPN.
That sucks. Have you
Yeah.
tried all the different like zones?
I don't try it with the VPN. I never use.
No,
I
like,
never use Steam with.
You can choose to go to like.
Can you change it
Asia.
once you're in?
I don't know. I haven't.
Because that's why I sent you the message. Because once you go in, when you first install the game, it asks you what zone, and it has a tooltip underneath saying you can't change it once in the game. Which is annoying. I hate when they force you into an area like that.
Yeah.
Like if I just picked randomly, like, oh, America, and then it would be like, oh, you're not allowed to play with your friends, fuck you.
Yeah. It's a good game. That's unfortunate because
It looks good.
Like I played Star Trek Online.
Yeah.
And Star Trek Online is an awesome game, whether you're a Star Trek fan or not. Just because you like when I play games like that, you tend to get to a point where you're just like, all right, quest, click. You're not really.
Yeah. I do
Some
the same thing with
stories-
Oblivion now. I
Yeah.
kind of feel bad about it.
Well, Oblivion, I'll look at some quests, but after a while, it's just like, oh, okay, fine, go fetch this stupid thing, and like.
Do you ever think to yourself, like, why am I even playing if I'm in that mood?
No, because you're not like I play games for the story, but some games is like, what is the story? The story is just kind of I don't want to say glommed on because that makes it sound like they didn't put any effort into it because they did, like the Shivering Isles and all that.
Tremendous amount of effort.
But after a while, like especially for me, because like I said, it's my cursed game,
Yeah,
and
fair.
I have had so many problems with that game that it's just at this point, it's like, all right, I know, I just want to play. Like I'm in level 3 now because I haven't been playing I've only been playing for like 3 days, so I'm only level 3, and I'm just at the point where I'm like, I don't need to upgrade anything, but I'm still going out and looking for shit, trying to upgrade. Like I went to the Shivering Isles because like, oh, I'll go and get the Amber Armor, and then I know it's not as good now because I'm a low level, but it'll be better than what I have. And then I started doing that, and I was like, you know what? It's just gonna be more weight. I've only got like 160 encumbrance, which I'm always filling up because I don't have a house to fucking put shit in yet. So, because even though I have all the DLC,
classic RPG problems here.
the house that I have, I went in. I got Frostcrake Spire.
Okay.
And
That's one of the DLCs, right?
yeah, it's one of the DLCs because it comes with everything when you buy it on Steam, and it doesn't have any storage in there, so I can't store anything. And the biggest thing right now is I've got a bunch of like alchemical ingredients and stuff, and I always get my alchemy up because feather spells and feather potions
So important.
are so important. And with the DLC, the Shivering Isles DLC, one of the things you can get there is flame stock, and when you get your alchemy up to level 100, you can just go there, and there's a place in there. I couldn't find it today, but it's just like a doorway covered in flame stock. So you can get like 15, 16 flame stock and make 16 potions with just one flame stock.
Nice.
And the Frostcrag Spire has a thing that gives you 15 plus 15 to your alchemy, so you can make even better potions. And so it's really nice. But I didn't buy storage, and everything's really expensive because I just went in there and I clicked one. I was like, oh crap, I bought it. It sells for 0. Shit.
Did you played Skyrim, of course, right?
Yeah.
Did you play the DLC that lets you build your own house?
I did try,
What
but
do you think about that?
yeah,
It was very hot and cold for me like that.
it was like basically for me it was like I have a house, I can put things in there, but it didn't really do anything more. Like it gave you the ability to customize it a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little
But
bit.
I kind of felt
You
like
could have like a garden in it. You could have like a mage's tower.
there was nothing
but
in
there
there.
wasn't enough customization.
No. And there wasn't enough functionality to it, I feel, to make it necessary. It was kind of a waste
Or
of
to
time.
justify the expense. It was a fucking pain in the ass to build.
I pirated it, I think, when I had it back then. But Skyrim's a great game. There's no questioning that. It's just Oblivion's better.
Yeah, I agree. Oblivion's better for me as well. I think it has to do with the magic system. Skyrim discarded the custom magic system.
Yeah.
And
I did like in Skyrim the one thing they did that was like you could channel 2 spells together.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was nice.
But I played through just Mage on Oblivion, and I restarted because it was boring. And then I played through just Mage. I went with Magic again on Skyrim, but I found and I remember watching some videos about this later on, where it's like unless you get specific spells to do specific things, Magic is very difficult to play.
It's just not powerful enough when you get high level.
And I love being like light armor, archer, sneaking. That's my bread and butter. I was even commenting to Jerry the other day. I was like, I played the same class so many times, but I could go and try other ways. Well, no, just with Oblivion. Like every time I restart, I go the same. And I was like, I could try a different class, but I want to beat the game with the class I like to play.
Yeah,
and I haven't done that yet. I've gotten to the point where like there's not really anything new, and you can still go find some really cool enchanted items and stuff. And there is cool stuff you can do in that game.
Every now and then I still find something new in the game, some new character I never knew before. But my character is usually heavy armor, full magic. And it's just not an option in Skyrim.
No.
You go 100% magic, it just doesn't keep up. And melee is ridiculously overpowered in Skyrim.
Yeah, it really is.
So is like unarmed. Like you can do hand to hand.
Yeah.
And you'll kill anything.
Mm-hmm. One thing, like in Oblivion, that
it's
I
sort
like.
of the opposite though with Oblivion. The magic is way overpowered. Like as long as
It
you know
is.
what you're doing.
Like that was the thing I found is
you can kill anything.
And when you alchemy in that game in Oblivion is quite overpowered too.
There's even more overpowered in Skyrim because you can do. This,
I never got that far.
You can do this back and forth exploit. I don't want to call it a glitch, but where you make a potion that increases your enchanting strength, and then you enchant a piece of armor to increase your alchemy strength, and you go back and forth until like the percentage is running off the screen. Increasing enchanting by no off the screen.
And so you're just enchanting ridiculous spells or
exactly,
things
or like you just make a sword that does like 9 damage.
That's cool.
I had a friend who did that, but even if you're not going like full exploit mode in Oblivion, you could still make spells that the only thing limiting you ever was your mana pool.
Yeah.
The most mana you could ever possibly get in Oblivion was like 1,200 or 1,500, something like that. And that's like fully buffed with the best armor, best enchantments.
One thing I do like about the game though is like if you want to go in there and all you do is you have sword and maybe recovery magic, you can do that.
Yeah, certainly.
And if you want, and like I do, the sneak, I have so many potions because I very rarely need to use them. And I just use in that case, I just use my restoration spell a lot. So I've actually, like I was looking, I don't have much room, but I have like, 22 weak healing potions, which are great, but they take up 0.5. Yeah. So there's a lot of weight there.
Do you remember your first character? Was your first character an important character? Did you play him a lot, or did you restart?
My first character was the one I did all magic because I was just obsessed with magic at that time, and then I was just like, this is kind of boring, and then I reset and went with the archer stealth because I remember watching my brother play, and he was just having so much fun.
Archery is real tough to make work in Oblivion. It's not very strong.
Archer? Yeah. Oh no, I disagree.
I'm talking about the base damage of the arrow is really
true, but if you do it with sneak, that times 3 damage. Like I found that most like anything you fight in that first area is meant to be killable. You could just go in hand to hand and beat everything up.
Yeah.
But I went to the Shivering Isles, and the first dungeon I went to, everything I could kill one shot if I just was sneaking.
Yeah.
And then
were you using enchanted arrows?
Nope, just regular arrows. I was using iron arrows and steel bow.
Your own.
There is like they did. I do agree they did.
Oh, you were really low level though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything levels with you. Yeah. That's the annoying thing about Oblivion is like, once you recognize that everything's leveling with you, it's so easy to exploit the game and just get better gear and better skills and not level up. And everything's level 1, you just one-shot everything.
Yeah, I do level up because I don't want to exploit. I want the game. Like, I'm just playing the game, and I like to, go and level up and
level
get
20,
faster. And
level 27 is when all the end game stuff is unlocked. So level 27 is when Daedra will drop Daedric armor.
Right, okay.
And stuff like that. And they'll drop all the best stuff.
The one exploit I remember Jerry did, he was at my house when we were both playing he was playing Xbox, I was playing PS3, and he went to the Arcane University and enchanted everything he had with Chameleon.
Yeah,
so he was like over 100% Chameleon.
100% Chameleon, yeah.
And then he killed the guard's horse and took off the Chameleon and fought the other guard. And then he couldn't figure out where he was getting damage from because the guard didn't get off his horse before he died, but the guard wasn't dead. So the horse is just lying on the ground and slowly moving, and the guard's just like crazily swinging his sword.
There's some crazy glitches in Bethesda games.
There are. It's awesome.
Did you ever play with the construction set? Did you ever have Oblivion for the PC?
No, I never did. Well,
you have it now.
I have it now for the PC.
All right, make sure you download the construction set so you can edit stuff in the game. And this is what you should do. This is what I love doing. Make 2 custom staffs. One of them is a charm staff. Charm in 100 feet for 9999999. All right. And then what I'd usually have is a calm staff. I forget the name. I think it's calm or something like that. It's the opposite of frenzy.
So that they just go docile.
Yeah. And what you do is just run through the countryside spamming this. Charm. And even if they're complete enemies with you, they'll follow you. They'll instantly become a companion when you charm them 9999999. And so you can just run through the countryside building an army. And then you walk into a city, and then you just punch a guard, and this army of like bears and mountain lions and trolls and goblins and all sorts of shit just attacks the guards.
And you just have this huge melee.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds awesome.
All your followers end up killing each other though, so that's why you need the calm one.
Oh, because
to stop them from fighting.
Because they're companions with you, but not each other.
Yeah, and so like if they have an alliance with you, and so like if he casts a spell and this guy gets in the way,
they suddenly hate each other.
Yeah, exactly, because they think
aggroed.
that you're attacking. Someone's attacking.
Like your troll is now attacking your bear because he did something and accidentally hit the bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know. But even if you just let them all run themselves out, it's still awesome. Fun.
It's great. I love that construction set. One of the first things I did was make like a really, really powerful character. Yeah. And then like I set him on an island and put a bunch of guards around him, and I put myself on the island, and I had a really strong character. I was like, this would be great. It's gonna be like a boss fight. And I didn't realize what effect it would have, giving him really high stats. And so I loaded, because you have to bring your modified thing into one of your save games.
Right.
And I loaded him into my save game without any duplicates or anything like that. And the moment I loaded, he turns and he one-shots one of the guards that I placed around, and then he takes one step and just disappears.
Really?
Because he had like 10,000 speed skill. And so he takes one step and like no clips 10 miles away. And he's just gone. He's just in that save now. He's just an immortal being running around in that save file.
Because you could never catch him because
he's never find him. Yeah, never found him again.
That's funny.
He's just out there running around.
I think you told me that before.
I made him like 15 feet tall, so he's obvious, but...
Well, that'd be... If you still had that file loaded up to the cloud for people to download, and then someday just someone's playing, you just, whoa, holy shit.
Someone's just running, like, what the fuck is that? It's just giant dude, like, clipped into a tree.
And they get close, and he suddenly turns them, just boom, one shot.
One shot.
That'd be awesome. But actually, what was it? The point I was making earlier with Star Trek was just that the fighting in the ship was very much like World of Warships, just with the extra dimension, because of course you're in space. Okay. But yeah, you're flying around, and it was so much fun because you've got the mouse, and you're sitting there just right close to your keyboard, going up and down and around, and just trying to get broadside so you can shoot all the like your phasers and stuff at them. World of Warships that just in the water.
What's the scale of World of Warships? Like, are there actually like fleets against fleets?
It'll generally be like
I've only seen like
it'll be
cinematics.
8 versus 8.
Okay.
Or if you go with they have a space ship battle one, which is just the same thing. You're just in ships that are in space, and that'll be 16 versus 16.
Okay.
And it's cool because like you start out with the basic ship and you slowly get experience, and then you level up, buy another ship, and then you can go into like you start out with a cruiser. Okay. And then once you get up to like level 4 cruisers, like the German ones, I'm playing with the German ship. Their level 4 cruisers have torpedoes, and those do massive amounts of damage. But of course, you got to be close enough to hit. And then they have destroyers, which are really fast, light armor, massive damage, lots of torpedoes, and battleships, which have massive range and lots of armor. And then aircraft carriers, which will send out ships to do bombing runs. Planes.
Yeah. Do you get to fly the plane?
I haven't tried, but I think it's a targeted it's like a targeted attack.
Okay. When you're driving your ship, do you actually control the guns? Like, if there was a plane coming at me, could I like point at it and shoot?
It would be like the way your guns. You have your guns, and then if you're on one side, like your guns will take time to turn, so you'll have to turn and then wait for the guns to line up, and then you can shoot. Okay. So
you gotta be careful that you shoot.
Yeah, and you have to be careful too, because sometimes like on the back you'll have guns, but you're fighting on your left, and then you turn to the right, and they've got to swing all the way around to go to bring them to bear.
Turrets. Mm-hmm. This is off topic.
Okay.
But you just reminded me when we were talking about the turrets on the ships. Do you think that so of course you've seen videos of like the missile defense systems on ships with like the miniguns that shoot down rockets and missiles? Do you think those actually work?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things, they put up a spray of bullets because anything getting in the way of a missile is a potential detonation, I guess.
I assume so as well.
And I think it would work, and it's one of those things, like you may not catch all of them, but if you've got 6 missiles incoming and you shoot down 3 of them, well, those other 3 missiles are still going to do a lot of damage, but that could be the difference between crippling and a destroyer, like a sunk ship, or the difference between being crippled and being functional,
I also think this probably like because ships go in like these groups, right?
Yeah.
So let's say there's one aircraft carrier and a bunch of destroyers and supporting ships and cruisers and stuff.
Yeah.
And they've all got these systems on them.
Right.
But if they see like a cloud of missiles coming over, they're going to prioritize the defense of the aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And so there might be like an overlapping fields of fire over the aircraft carrier. And there might be some calculation done where they're like, okay, we're definitely going to stop all the missiles that come to the aircraft carrier. And there's like some percentage chance of getting hit with all these other ships.
Yeah. But your aircraft carrier's got the ability to launch planes, which are going to do more damage.
And it has the most personnel on it. It's the most expensive. It's got
the
all
most expensive. But your planes, your air fire is going to be your most effective weapon. So you want to protect that, because if you lost everything and still had your aircraft carrier, you could do much more damage than if you protected everything else and lost your aircraft carrier.
I'm so curious about it because airplanes just dominated World War II.
Yeah, they did.
And they made battleships obsolete, and they made heavy warships, heavily armored warships obsolete.
That's why now what's the most heavily armed ship? The aircraft carrier. Mm-hmm. Like it's got significant guns on it, and
other than that, everything else is basically just a vehicle for missiles.
Yeah, and then even the aircraft carrier, its guns aren't meant to fight other ships; they're meant to stop ship from hitting them. Yeah. They'll have maybe a couple guns that can fire long range, but that's not really that.
So what I'm curious about is, because it's been so long since like advanced world powers have fought each other, because the balance of warfare is always going back and forth from attack to defense, attack defense.
Right.
And so are we at the point yet where defense has come back? Where like what if America and like Russia went to war at sea? And both sides just launch a cloud of missiles and all of them get shot down. And now both sides are like, now what?
I think it'd be more like you would have missiles, but it's kind of like the best, like all the ships are designed so that they can keep going. So they're designed very defensively, but then they'll have like specific systems. they'll have many systems designed for defense, and then a specific like 1 or 2 systems that are designed to launch strikes that will do massive damage. So like they have, the defense is just a huge thing built of all these other parts, whereas the attack would be just, okay, we have our planes, and we have our bombers, and we have our strike craft, and we have...
It's more direct.
Yeah, more direct things.
And the defense will be layers, At the farthest layer, you have like a guided missile that shoots down missiles.
Yeah.
And you have things like chain guns.
And then you have the point defense. It would be like the very...
At what point do they have lasers? Yeah. Like how far away are we from laser defenses?
I honestly don't know.
I'm so curious about these things.
Because we already have Mac guns, right?
Or you mean
magnetic accelerators?
Yes.
Guns.
But the documentaries and videos I've read, railguns, yeah, exactly. The ones I've watched on it. So you've seen videos of them firing, right?
Yeah.
In like the test fields and stuff. And the fireball that comes out the end? That's not because any propellant is used. That's actually the projectile moving so fast that it strips the inside layer of steel off of the barrel.
Right. Okay. Oh.
And so you only get to fire it once or twice before it's completely destroyed the barrel. And like a huge part of the weapon needs to be replaced. And so they're starting to realize now that, according to the documentary I watched, is that if they start putting railguns on ships, they need to, like, a part of the system, the weapon system, needs to be replacing large components every couple of shots.
That would be
the barrel, for example.
And it seems to me that at this point, the idea should be, it's like, let's wait till we have a stronger material that can handle doing that, or...
Or commodification, like if it's economy of scale, it's probably still cheaper than like a missile. Missiles are crazy expensive.
Yeah. Well, and when you think a missile is a thing that has computers, it's got motherboards, it's got all this stuff in it, whereas you have a barrel of metal that you have to replace every couple of shots. It's like, well, you're still using
and it's just firing like a metal spike. Probably.
Yeah, just a metal. It doesn't have to be this computer guided blah 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 with propellant and all that. It's just this thing. You're just throwing a really big, heavy rock.
Did you ever listen? Did you ever get into watching Isaac Arthur?
YouTube channel? I never did.
All right. Well, anyone who's listening, if you want the greatest science educator I've ever come across, Isaac Arthur. But he's got a great video on space warfare.
Yeah.
And the reason I love his channel, one of the many reasons, is because everything he says he grounds very, very solidly in contemporary science and mathematics, and so like. He almost never like speculates.
Right.
He's like, this is what we can do, and this is what we could do. Like, this is what we can do right now, and taking the same technology, we could do this if we wanted to.
Right.
These
and he's not like, if we had this, we could do. He's just like, we have this, we can do.
He has some videos like that, but he's very clear. Like, for example, he has a video on fusion, and like in the very beginning of the video, he's like, right now, no one's ever achieved sustained fusion, and we have no reason to believe that we will ever have sustained fusion. But if we did, this is the energy that it would output. This is what you could do with it, blah, blah, blah. So he's got one on space warfare. And it killed the nerd in me. The little kid who wants exciting space warfare, it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So all space warfare is a rock, paper, scissors game between directed energy weapons like lasers, smart weapons like rockets, and dumb weapons like Mac guns. And everything has a hard counter. Mac guns, you just get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
A laser, you just have a mirror.
Yeah.
Guided rocket, lasers shoot them.
So it's going to have to be some combination of all those things.
And getting hit in space warfare, getting hit like is just straight up luck at a certain point. Like you shoot a rocket, your enemy shoots down your rocket, and then you think, okay, well, can they shoot down 50 rockets? We'll shoot 50 rockets. And we'll make it weird intervals. We'll shoot 50 rockets, then we'll wait 0.7 seconds, we'll shoot 47 rockets, and then we'll wait 1.2 seconds, and we'll fire 61 rockets.
Just random. You just got to be like...
Just trying to overwhelm their system. Things. Yeah, exactly. And you're trying to use your Mac gun to break their mirrors so that your laser can be effective against them. And
yeah. So until someone comes out and discovers a new technology that can make warfare exciting again in space.
It's going to be boring as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I watched another video by Thunderfoot. You ever heard of Thunderfoot?
No.
He's like a science... He's like a science dude on YouTube who debunks stuff.
Was he... I think he's the guy... He's like... I've seen a couple one where he's like, why having invisibility would suck, and why having.
I don't think he's that guy.
No, okay.
He more goes after people like Elon Musk when Elon Musk has like a hyperloop idea, and he'll just have like a 20-minute video about all the engineering problems behind the hyperloop and why it's a really dumb idea.
Okay.
But
if I lay back on this, is it gonna fall?
Almost certainly. Yeah, that chair's fucked.
This sucks sitting with this chair.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to lean against.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, it can't be. It can't be fixed. It's absolute garbage. I even tried gluing these hinges, but that didn't work. Anyway,
you are just death on your chairs, man.
I know, man. This chair's like a month old, and almost all the wheels are broken already. Fuck, and all the padding is gone. There's just a steel bar in my back right now.
Oh, that sucks.
I don't know why. I destroy everything that I like. My shoes are annihilated. They only last a couple months, and then they break apart.
Wow.
I don't know. Anyway.
Need to lose some weight, man.
I know. Fucking.
So do I.
I'm very massive.
Yeah.
Lots of mass. It's a polite. It's a nice, polite, scientific way of calling someone fat.
You have a lot of mass.
Yeah.
The gravitational pull you exert.
Yeah, significantly above average.
Yeah.
Anyway, he made a video about how warfare in space would most likely take place at distances that you wouldn't be able to even see the person you're shooting at with the human eye.
It would be all computer based.
It would be at light seconds.
Yeah.
So you're talking about like, I don't know what a light second is, but it's a extraordinary distance. Like you wouldn't be able to see with your naked eye the person you're shooting at, and it would all be computer based. Your AI would be fighting.
If you're close enough to see, like whatever weapons you're using are firing at such speeds that it would just be like, and fire, bam. It wouldn't be like fire and watch it go. If you're close enough to see them, it would just be.
If you're close enough to see them, then you're going to use lasers.
Yeah, and anything you fire is just going to hit them within seconds. So
the speed of light is 3.8 million miles per second.
No, but I'm saying if you're close enough to see them.
Yeah.
Like with your naked eye, that means they're within close.
Within that distance, definitely 3.8 million miles, definitely.
Yeah,
they're within that distance. Yeah.
But I'm thinking more like in Star Trek when they're
like right next to each other.
Right next to each other, they're using. But also you gotta in Star Trek, like they'll have ships that have like a phaser. They always talk about they have this many phaser banks, but whenever they're fighting, it's pew pew pew, and it's just like come on, yeah, like you could fire like a ship like that would not have just that.
Who knows? Do you want to just have one really powerful laser or lots of weaker lasers if they're all using the same energy source?
It's true, but it would also, I would look from my perspective, I'm saying, what is the maximum thing about your laser? You could support a laser of X power, but that would overload it. So you have several smaller lasers because like you could support one very powerful one, but you couldn't use it very much because it would overheat, or you just don't have the material to be able to generate that much of a focused beam.
What's the sci-fi fuel in Star Trek? Quantum bullshit?
No, it's antimatter.
They use antimatter?
Yeah.
Oh, that's some low-level shit.
They use antimatter. Well, I mean, Star Trek was made before when antimatter was still like that doesn't exist.
I thought you were gonna say it was like quantum quarks or some shit.
Like
quarkrium from the quantum sector.
Yeah, and then that's what it is. They use antimatter from dilithium.
Shit, we got antimatter. Dilithium something? Crystals?
Dilithium crystals.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that before. Dilithium crystals. That's the sci-fi bullshit.
Yeah. But playing that game, playing Star Trek games is a hell of a lot of fun.
I bet.
I wish it won't work here in China though.
Shit.
Because you can download it on Steam for free, but when you download it it's through Steam, but you have to connect to their thing, and it just won't go through there. But it is a lot of fun.
Oh man. Sorry, I was just gonna comment on my VPN connecting and reconnecting every fucking 15 minutes.
Yeah,
shit
sucks. I'm just gonna fucking sit. That's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's backrest.
Let's put this right here. Sorry, everybody, for the crash, knock, bang. All right. So, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, I can't help you there.
Oh, so have you gotten far in Warhammer yet?
In Warhammer 2?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, I played Warhammer 2 quite a bit. I did the elves. I played through. I tried a couple times, but
High elves or dark elves?
Teclis.
I don't know which one that is.
He's high elf.
Oh, okay.
And I'm playing through with him, and I've done quite a bit because like the map. I'm on the west side.
What side? Sorry.
And I basically saw
yeah.
from the bottom of the island on the west side.
Yeah.
I've taken like everything. I've got that entire continent except for just like the top left corner.
So you play a lot of other Total War games.
A few, not really. I played Warhammer 2, Rome.
Rome is the Total War game, though.
Yeah, like
so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know, if you told me like, oh yeah, I only played Empire, I'm like, you don't know shit. But Shogun was okay, I guess.
I haven't played Shogun. I would like to though.
But so how do you compare it to Rome?
It's definitely there's a bit of a bigger feel to like the battles and stuff because of course you can pull it in
extra more grand. Yeah.
Yeah.
And having the fantasy units make it a lot more epic.
Yeah, and I really do like the garrison.
I do as well.
I think the garrison's really cool. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's an added feature that makes sense. And I think we obviously have to rework how Rome works to be able to do that. But I do like also like Jerry didn't like it as much, but in this one I like that the way that they limit you in how many buildings you can build. Like, because you can in one city you can have in your main one you can have 8, and in the smaller ones in the province you can have 4 buildings, and they can only go up to a certain level. And for me, I'm just like that makes sense because otherwise you'd like having. I always try to look at things from an RP perspective because when you're playing the game, there is some story element to it, or at least some
that's fair.
Element of realism to the story.
And in Warhammer, they sort of force you down that road of role playing to a degree.
And the thing is, for me, when you look at Rome, you could have all the cities be top level cities after time, of course. And yes, you will have some that are smaller, but eventually you could have, if you waited and just took the time, you could have every city be top tier. Whereas this one is like, okay, you'll realistically, in terms of just at least an RP, you have your capital city, and then you have your
minor ones.
Minor ones that just.
How do you feel about the province system?
Province system, I actually like that because it gives you a goal, and it gives you, instead of just having go and conquer this one and then go like you're okay, I'm gonna take this one. That means I'm gonna want to take these 3, and so you can plan a bit more. It's like okay.
There's reason for you to move in that direction.
Reason for you to move in that direction rather than just grab this city from the next one, grab that one, and
closest.
Yeah, and I really like the units healing because
it feels overpowered when I'm being invaded.
It is overpowered, but I like it better than the way they did it in Rome because in Rome it was just so hard to level your guys up because you have to retrain them because you're not just going to have them like those units sitting there. But it meant that you were always much like it brought your strength back down. And yes, eventually you will get up there. It was just, I don't know.
I think the PC or the AI in the game definitely has a huge bonus to the healing factor.
Yeah,
because they'll invade. I've been having serious problems with the vampire accounts. Count Noctilus, he'll invade. He'll have a battle with like a 20 stack of mine. He'll lose 16 of his 20 units, but he'll win. I'll lose the 20 stack.
Yeah.
And then the next turn he's back up to like 12. The next turn after that he's back up to like 18. The turn after that he's got full 20 stack.
Yeah, they do.
And
well, and it also depends on the enemy. Like the dwarves, like the high elves for me, like I can recruit 5 local, and then I think like 5 global. But you go to the dwarves.
Lizardmen's 3 and 3 hard cap.
Like there's no way to get it up at all.
I think there's 1 or maybe 1 or 2 provinces where I can have 4 local, but that's it. 3 is the global hard cap.
Yeah, there's buildings and stuff and some research you can do that'll give you that. And I think even some lords have abilities that'll do that for the high
So
elves.
it's pretty weak making armies with the lizardmen.
But do they recruit quickly though?
Nope.
No.
Like the highest end thing you have is the Carnosaur and the Ancient Stegodon. They take, if I'm not mistaken, I think they take 6 turns from the province where they're coming from. And so they have like 9 or 12 globally, something like that.
The dwarves get Jerry was at like 19 units recruited globally.
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
Yeah.
That's, this is something I talk to Jerry about a lot is how much can you really expect balance from a game like this?
Yeah, it is true. Like he said it, and I think it's true. What was he say? He said, this is what happens when they give the fans everything they want. It does break the game, but it doesn't mean the game is not fun to play.
True.
It's just
But they didn't give us everything we want. There's no hot seat.
Okay, fair. But I'm talking from a purely game. Like you are one player playing this game. What is it? You're playing Warhammer. In the Warhammer mythos, what do you need? Well, you have to have magic. You have to have dragons. You have to have all these
epic battles.
And you really can't have it. They've given you that. It's just you can't. Like there's other parts of it where it's like in Rome, it was more of a balanced game.
I don't expect Warhammer to be balanced. Rome was almost the exact same units for every nation, just reskinned. Slightly different stats, but almost identical. Like that was really the reason that you played the Romans or maybe the Carthage or like one or two other races or nations, just because they had interesting unit rosters. Everyone else had the same shit.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense though that for a game like that, when you're for a first try, you can't really fault them for anything that they did because it was a first try on a game type that had already existed and had like Age of Empires at the time, I believe, was still quite popular.
It was. It still is today.
And it still is today. And you also have
Warcraft.
Yes. Rome was like they took Age of Empires and made it more complicated, and that's the thing too. When you're making like the battle system and
they married it to Sid Meier's Civ.
Yeah, and so they took a combination of all these games, and it's not an extremely complex system. It's easy to learn, hard to master.
I would prefer if it was more complicated, honestly.
That's not a surprise for me though. You love the complicated systems.
Well, like, so let me give you an example. Like, I think that Rome has a very simplistic strategy to the battles.
It's true.
And I think Warhammer has even less strategy.
Oh, absolutely. Warhammer is.
And so it's really frustrating sometimes fighting battles where it doesn't feel like it matters what I do. The result is going to be the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
For example, like I like garrisons as well, but it never feels like I can overcome a big deficit with my garrison. Because the strategy just isn't there. Like
it's true. Like
it just ends up being a mosh pit every time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because it's basically like when you have units that are said to be meat shields and stuff, and I mean that's fine for some civilizations. The fact that they almost always end up as a mosh pit makes sense for that civ, but yeah, it does. You do have your units that you're like, all right, you were just going to stand there and not die for a while the rest of my guys do stuff.
You win the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, like formations barely exist in this game.
No, they don't. Well, I've done it a couple times where I've like set up this here and set up that over there and try and. But at the end of the day, if you did, you might not lose as many units, but you don't need to do that.
Exactly.
If you're gonna win the battle, you're gonna win it pretty much unless you fuck up horribly.
Yeah. In Rome, you do need to do that because you need those. You know, you can easily get like a 10-to-1 kill-death ratio in Rome, but you need that because your units don't just heal.
Yeah.
So if you're sending a general off with a full-stack army, he's supposed to conquer Germany or something. You need him to win 30 battles in a row with that kind of kill-death ratio.
Yeah. Or you're spending so much time retraining.
Yeah, you're not going to
accomplish it. Like you have to move them back to a place that they can retrain.
I saw a YouTube video where a guy rushed the Marius reforms. The Marius reforms are what give you the end game units for Rome. They give you the legionaries. Apparently, you can get that in just a few turns.
Really?
So apparently, the only trigger for it is to have a 25,000 population city, and then that triggers it, and then you get the end game units. And the way the enslavement system works in the game is, you can basically take a city, and then every city you take after that, you can just enslave the population, and you can make it so that all those slaves go to that one city.
How is that possible?
So I never knew this before, but when you enslave, half the population of that city gets enslaved, and those slaves get distributed amongst cities that have governors. So remove all the governors from all the cities except one, and then every time you take a city, half of that population will go to the other city. And then what the person in the video did was they were playing the Julii, and they immediately took a full stack down to Carthage because apparently all the Carthaginian cities start with really high population. And so they would take the city, enslave it, and then they would leave the city and leave the tax rate really high for them to rebel, and then take it again and enslave it again.
Oh, that makes sense. You said though, like the Triarii, they're the best. Like they get their spearmen that you can't recruit later.
They're the only dedicated spearmen of the.
But they have passable spearmen otherwise.
They get like the Roman auxiliary,
who
are spearmen, but they're like really lightly armored and they're not dependable like the Triarii are, I think.
Well, I mean, in something like that, you just get a city up to the point where it can recruit Triaria and recruit a bunch of them.
I think you stopped getting them.
Yeah, well, you stop getting them,
Yeah.
but
So
get
I
the city
did
up and recruit
an
and
army
then-
of them. Yeah.
Yeah, like 20 stack army, and then you can split it up into.
I did that before,
Yeah.
and I set them. So I had a fort in central Italy, and I was just sending Triaria there for turn after turn after turn after turn.
Hmm.
And I had full story stack, and they fucking got the plague.
That's
So like almost the whole army died. It pissed me off. So
That's one
much.
thing that I haven't been able to find, at least in Warhammer, is that you can't build forts.
Yeah, that upsets me. But again, there's so little strategy in the game.
It's
Wouldn't
true, you
matter.
don't need it, but it would be nice. There's been times it's like, I would really love to plant a fort right here, because it's just. I mean,
There's a
you
lot of
can-
things. There's a lot of glaring things missing. For example, no hot seat. But also, when you play a multiplayer game, I don't know if you have yet with Jerry.
Yeah, a little bit. The whole
You can only be head to head or co-op. There's no in between.
that, and another thing I don't like is just
Shocking.
like I was playing with him the other day, and he went to do a battle, and he clicked auto resolve, and it didn't show me what he clicked, so I clicked spectate, and I forced him into the battle.
That's unbelievable. Things like that, it make me feel like Creative
It's-
Assembly never tested their game.
Well, and it's one of those things. It's like whoever's turn it is. Like if we're playing 5 people and all 4 people click spectate and I click auto resolve and it's my turn, it auto resolves. But also, what happened? Like that's just, and for me, I was just like, that's really dumb because it means you've got to be on a phone call with anyone you're playing, which usually I guess most people would be on.
It's unrealistic. It's extremely unrealistic. And like I said, I feel like the only way they could make such glaring mistakes in gameplay is if they just didn't test the game.
Well, and it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't because this is number 2. We're playing Warhammer 2. I hope in Warhammer 3 they fix some of those things.
It's so unlikely. I just have so little respect for game studios nowadays. Can you name a studio that consistently doesn't fuck everything up?
It's the thing is.
Jerry and I play every Monday. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Jerry and I play every Monday the Warhammer game, the campaign we're doing right now. And every single Monday, I'm blown away by those little things like that, where I have to be involved in every battle he does. I'm blown away that was allowed into the game.
I don't mind that. Like it's one of those things. If Jerry's playing, and it wants you to spectate, you could, like for me, I just tab out and go do something with Jerry's, or I sit there and I drive.
But you shouldn't have to be involved at all.
Yeah, I don't like that it forces you to vote. Like it should just be one of those things. It should be an option. It's like allow others to vote, or you can say,
or just the person whose fight it is decides what happens, and then maybe you're forced to just watch. If they auto resolve, it auto resolves on your screen too. If they fight, you have to spectate. But
that's how it is, isn't it? What do you mean by being involved?
You having to click a button on your computer when it's not your turn.
Yeah. That because if you don't, like, I don't even know if there's a wait timer. I think it just waits until everybody's clicked.
It's pretty fucking dumb.
I do like one thing is like you can really see. What was I gonna say? You know that because when you're spectating, you have the paints, so you can draw stuff on the map.
Yeah.
Like Jerry has been he was drawing stuff, and Jerry is a better player than me. Like I tend to be very strategy light. My battles always would turn into a mosh pit generally.
Jerry's do too.
Yeah.
You should watch our Third Age campaigns. Every battle he fights is just a mosh pit.
Yeah, I'm not like with the strategy. Like sometimes it takes like horses, cavalry. With Rome, I was really good with the cavalry, bringing them out, slamming them in, bringing them out, slamming them in. With this other, like I'd be pause and I go over here and I'll be spending like 10 seconds over here and then I pause and I go back and it's like, oh, forgot about my cavalry and now they are just enmeshed in this battle and I can't get them out.
So I talked to Jerry about this and let me see if you agree. There's something about the aesthetic in this game that personally it makes it hard. Fucking truck passing by. The water truck.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, it makes it hard for me to understand what I'm looking at.
I can see that a bit. I find that there's times where I don't understand why I can't move here, why I can't move there.
Like I've heard Jerry express that he becomes overwhelmed when it's like a 40 stack versus 40 stack battle.
Yeah.
And I become overwhelmed sometimes when it's like a fucking 10 stack versus 10 stack in this game. So I just can't like see what's going on. Like there's something about the aesthetic. I think that maybe if I was like a graphic design expert, I could just explicitly say like it's this, and this, and this is doing this to your eye. But I feel like I could have a 100 versus 100 stack battle in Rome Total War, and I would never be confused about where my units are, what direction they're going, where the enemy is. But there's something about fucking Warhammer when the fucking armies come together. I just have no idea what's going on. It's just utter confusion.
It is.
Are these even my units I'm looking at? And they can be radically different units. It can be like fucking trolls against dinosaurs. And I'm like, who are you?
And then there's times like I found finding the Lord can be a real pain in the ass because they're icons. If they're both standing there, it can be impossible to find the Lord until you. Like,
and the icon can be in front of the other one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They can be joined, and I find that the Lord icon usually hides behind the
troop icon. See, these are things that I think are really bad. These are egregious. These are worse than the actual gameplay things. Well, this is gameplay, obviously.
It is getting to a point
because they shouldn't have existed at all. Someone should have tested the game and said, "Hey, this is a big fucking mistake."
I think also in like with the way games have gotten and the level of development we have gotten to, they are small enough things that I think honestly like that icon thing. Fixing that would just be you have two units standing there. You go over the icon and it just goes over to two, or they're just two icons sitting there. Because we've seen in many other games, it's not a hard fix, and it's just like with the amount of money this game costs, the fact that in order to get all the content unlocked, you have to buy Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2.
I bought it all on sale and it cost me like $40.
Yeah.
To get both games and the DLCs.
Yeah, it's quite
It's
expensive.
egregious. It's fucking preposterous.
There are certain things that just because you're putting dragons and all that in there to try and make it balanced, you'd have to.
It would be basically impossible.
It would be basically impossible, and it would require making an entirely different game. So yeah, fine, you can't.
And at the end of the day, I'm willing to say fuck balance.
Yeah.
I just want the fucking game to work.
Yeah, there are
and
things
to make sense.
There are times when it's just like it is fun, but then there are times where you're just like it would be so much more fun if because this little thing and this thing.
Have you also noticed that the auto resolves are shockingly bad results?
Yep.
Shocking.
Like
I'll fight a battle and lose nobody, but I'll auto resolve the same battle and lose the whole army.
Yeah, and there's times where like you'll have really good. It'll be giving you good prediction, and you'll auto resolve, and you're still like, whoa, like that unit had 75 out of 100 men, and I lost it. Like that doesn't make sense. If I had 20 out of 100, fine. But I mean, it's just one of the things that bothers me too is I think when it comes to auto resolve like that, it should be all right. I have a very wounded unit. I'm not going to throw them into the fray.
The computer doesn't think like that.
Like the computer's just like you have X amount of units, okay, and you lose this many, and it's just like this one's really weak, so it dies. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. But there are times where it's like, okay, this is just a computer maybe not thinking. This is just a AI that's not thinking logically. It's just like it's just taking the static. You have X amount. The
calculations seem impossible sometimes, though. Like my best infantry are the Temple Guard, the Lizardmen. And I'll have my armies are usually like 1/3 Temple Guard, maybe like 25%. And like I'll have a battle where if I fought it in the battle, I would lose literally no one, and I would a couple of unit cards would be like 10% injured.
Yeah.
I auto resolve it, and I lose like 600 Temple Guard out of my army of 1,500 units.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the fuck?
Yeah.
Like you lost 6 Carnosaurs. It's like what? How?
That's why, like, I only auto resolve when it's like there's the tiniest little bit of the bar is red, then I will auto resolve. Otherwise,
but I was talking to Jerry about this. I don't feel like the fights have gravity because the enemies always escape, and they heal so fast, and they somehow have greater movement ability than you do.
Yeah, that is very.
So you can slaughter the army. You can have a fight where just judging by the deaths on the field, you feel like you killed 95% of their troops, and then after the battle, the Lord survived and all their troops survived, and they run away farther than you can chase them, and then 2 turns from now they're back to full strength.
There is like the Lord, like if you don't wound the Lord, he like I focus on like if I have because I go archer heavy because it's a noob strategy and that's what I don't play these games as much as you and Jerry do.
I try to focus on the Lord. The Lizardmen just don't have the ranged ability to take stuff down, like to pinpoint stuff.
I'll focus Fire the Lord because I'll have like with the elves, Lothlorien, Sea Guards, regular archers, and I'm just
and they will all just be pouring fire onto the Lord just to get him down.
But like, man, it's infuriating. That's why I end up auto-resolving battles that would normally never are auto-resolve, because it feels like there's no gravity to the battle. And I know that it's just going to get away if I fight the battle. So I'm just going to auto-resolve it 2 or 3 times, and then when they're down to like 1/4 health, I'll actually fight the battle, surround them, and kill them all.
This is one small thing that I really liked in, or that I don't like in this, that I really liked in Rome, was the whole thing. You could recruit an army without a general. And you had the possibility for that army to get a general just by battle. And I really like that. I think it was a good thing. And I can understand in this, like, they're trying to keep it more with the legendary figures, because this is a story, and so you'll have all the legendary figures like Teclis and Tyrion and whoever the lizard men leaders are, and then you'll have their minor heroes from the lore that you can get.
It upsets me to no end, that whole mechanic in the game. That you have to have a lord with an army. You can't have troops march on them by themselves. That heroes join and unjoin armies like they do.
I don't mind the heroes joining and not joining, because I think that's really nice, because it's like you can have a noble, or I guess that would be kind of like the scout, who can assassinate and he can secure influence and all that. I don't mind
if that's going to be in the game, it needs to be dialed back tremendously. Yeah. I don't know about your campaigns, but in my Lizardman campaign, my entire fucking border is lousy. It's infested.
with those things.
Every city has 3 or 4 heroes attacking it every turn. Every single army has.
When you say heroes, you mean just guys like doing like damage walls and stuff like
damage walls, steal technology, assassinate every single turn.
What difficulty are you playing on?
Normal. Because I have dwarves, vampire counts, orcs, vampire
It is
coast.
true. They have so many of those things.
And my entire border, every single army is assaulted multiple times every turn. It's so fucking annoying. It's so frustrating.
True. That's why one of the things
I wish I could just turn it off. Honestly, I don't feel like it has any. It doesn't give me any benefit to my game.
The one thing I like, you're right that they have way too many, because the amount that you can get is much less than that. And I get that sometimes they give handicaps to the AI, but that's a ridiculous one. But I do like with the noble. Usually the mages and stuff, the ones that can cast spells, I just keep with my armies.
I do the same thing, but they get assassinated every turn.
But the nobles, they're really cool, because they have the assassinate skill, and once you get them, I'll always have a noble that I'll level up, and all he is he's a hero killer. And then I'll have another noble that I'll level up, and I won't give him any of those assassinate skills, and I will just make him a lord killer.
And then 99% of the time, the motherfucker just gets wounded, doesn't even get killed.
The lords, their lords.
It feels like they've gone so far out of the way to take gravity out of the game.
Yeah, once you get to a certain point, the only way, it's one of those things, I think, because it's the thing I would take to make that acceptable is that because this is a legendary battle, it's more of the lord, like Teclis. Teclis is immortal. The main lord, he's immortal until his kingdom is destroyed. You know what I mean? He will be there at the last battle.
So then they should just make him genuinely immortal, when he can't be assassinated.
I would disagree with that. The whole thing that he can be wounded and you can't use him for a few turns, that makes sense to me. It might not be implemented well, but it does.
I have Azog the Slaughterer, the Greenskins legendary lord, on my border. And I've killed him 3 times now. In battles, and he always comes down with a log with 2 full stacks, and I have to fight him with 2 full stacks, and it's a ruthless fucking battle. And then fucking 5 turns later, he's got another 2 full stacks, and it's him. It's him.
5 turns is what
and I watch him die in the battle, and I concentrate on him, and I counter him. I hit him with my artillery.
5 turns is all that it takes for the wounded to come.
I take him with the fucking Carnosaurs, who are anti-dragon, anti-large monsters and stuff, and these battles are not easy, and I'm taking horrendous losses, and I just have the exact same battle 5 turns later.
It is one of those things, it's sounding to me unless you have, the elves have archers, which, everybody knows, when you play a game like this, archers are they're
really just all ranged.
All ranged, and so...
Vampire Coast are the best ranged units.
Yeah? Well, I really like the Sisters of Avalon.
You should try the custom battle with just ranged units against ranged units. The Vampire Coast will beat anyone else.
Have you tried the Sisters of Avalon?
No.
Sisters of Avalon are really cool.
High elves, right?
They're high elves, and they are a little dangerous because they have exploding arrows.
and they're really cool. Except you just got to be careful because if you let them fire into a unit that's in battle, you're gonna just fuck up your own units. Yeah. Whereas like regular archers, you can just have them. But Jerry was saying he was watching one of these guys play the High Elves, which he usually doesn't play on YouTube, and the guy had a regular army, and then his backup army was a full 20 stack of Sisters of Avalon, or 19, because then he had the Lord, and he said that was just, it does insane amounts of damage. It's like, yeah, but it's one of those things, like, you could do the same thing with just the regular archers. They're light archers, and you will still cream everything. Yeah. But Sisters of Avalon will just do that much more damage.
And at what point is it too much?
Well, there's something to be said for playing a game and going OP.
I agree. Like, if I was playing High Elves, I would just have a whole stack of Star Dragons.
Yeah.
If I was playing Dwarves, I would have a whole stack of, like, fucking Iron Breakers or whatever they're called. Yeah. Iron Drakes, the guys with the flamethrowers.
Yeah.
But
there is also, like you said, there's there's the OP characters. There's the, what is it? It's not a glitch. It's a exploit. Thank you.
There has to be a tipping point though, where it's not possible to have that kind of.
In games like this, though, it can be
to a certain point.
Because like even you go back to Age of Empires, like who's the best one to play as an Age of Empires? The Britons.
Yeah,
because they have the longest range, and so no matter what, even if you get cannons. I don't think they can get cannons. Maybe they can.
The only thing that outranges them is a trap.
Yeah, and in that case, it's a trap. Like
the traps don't even auto attack units.
And you're not, any trap that you're trying to fire on units with is gonna fail. Yeah. And so your whole thing is the only way to really counter them is to just show up with 40 traps and just get as much damage as you can in before the archers destroy your traps.
Yeah. But that's a hard imbalance. A hard encoded game imbalance. Like, let me give you an example of a game imbalance I think exists in Warhammer that shouldn't have been overseen or overlooked. I genuinely think that Skaven should be allowed to bring 3 stacks to a battle.
I could see that. That would make sense because it would fit in with their whole the mythos of the race, the fact that they're rat people,
and all of the troops are shittier than any other.
They're all shittier than anyone. And they have that break and reform, and I think it'd be a cool thing with that would be like it'd be something you could do. The rats, like you'd have 2 units, like they could fuse units in battle, because you know how you can out of battle you can merge units. Like they could have it could be one of their special abilities. Like they'll have 2 units break off half health, and then they can merge those units back and have their leadership back because they now have a full unit. Yeah. So it'd be a little bit. It wouldn't be just this route and attack. It would be, okay, these 2 units route, you form them up, and then they come back. That could be something where it's like, it's still annoying, but it makes sense. It's not just route, attack. Because the routing and attacking, again, is something that makes sense for their people. That's why, for me, it's one of those things. If it makes sense from the mythos of the character, I am very willing to accept it.
Me too.
Because if it's just something that they do, then it's like, okay, but why? Why are they doing that? Why do the rat people
It sort of upsets me that the orcs route and attack, because they should.
Yeah, the orcs should be the whole thing. Yeah, they fight to the death, and like maybe they'll route when there's like 10 units left,
or when the Lord dies.
So
they should be unwavering unless the Lord dies.
Mm-hmm.
I think
very hard to fear kind of thing. Like they don't.
How do you feel about the settlements in Warhammer? I think they're incredibly fucking lazy.
I can see them being lazy, but
so many of the settlements are this giant grand city, and the only area you're allowed to fight in is like one little section.
I do agree. When it comes to bringing the settlements into the battle, it is infuriating. I really didn't like that because that was one of the things in Rome. Even when you didn't have walls, you had avenues that were protected.
And when you had a big city, you could go anywhere in the city. Yeah. Every street in the city, you could put troops in.
Yeah, and this one is like you have this giant city, and you're fighting on the east wall.
Yeah, you're fighting in literally like 5% of the city you're allowed to put troops in.
One thing that I do like in Warhammer, an idea that they may not have seen it, and I mentioned this before when we talked another time, the gates. Because you know the Vortex Isle. The islands.
No, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, but they have. I think it's the only place I haven't seen the east side, but the east continent. But they have walls
like in the world.
Gates. They're because the mountain is surrounded by mountains, and then there's like 5 of those passes, 5 of the 7 passes you can go through are gate, like they have a gate, which is like a minor, special settlement that just has a garrison, and then you can level up the gate, but you can't like recruit units or recruit lords and stuff there. And it's really cool because it's a walled settlement that they have to go through that is just designed to hold them off.
What's it look like when you actually fight a battle in there?
It's basically like most things, it's kind of like a settlement setup. Yeah.
You see what I mean, man?
I think that would be really cool to have.
Creative Assembly can lick my butthole. That is so
lazy,
fucking lazy and uninspired.
Yeah.
And what about sea battles? When two armies
they just go straight to the wall.
When two armies come together at sea, the battle is on land.
That would be a really great area to have. Like, it would be something that they'd have to add, and it would be more work, and it might not work. But they could have, you're fighting on ships, and like you have like abilities with your ship, like you have to grapple and dock,
and like certain units won't be any use on a ship.
Certain units won't be
they'll be like down under the hold,
And
like,
then,
especially equipment.
They can do like there's abilities that are on cooldowns that they can do things that like you'll have units crossing over the other ship, and they'll have an ability they use that you have units falling into the sea, and you lose units that way.
If we're being honest and objective, can we even say that Creative Assembly is earning their money? Can we say that it's worth?
It's one of those things. They are giving you enough to make you go, all right, I can play this. But it's like you say, like
playable is so far away from deserves my money.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Steam has literally countless free playable games.
Yeah, it's one of those things with this game. It's so frustrating because you're like, this could be so freaking awesome. Yeah, and it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. There's no question about it. Like, it is a game where you're playing and you're frustrated not because it's terrible, but because it's just a little short of what it should be.
It's so far away from what it should be. But like, so something like two sea armies coming together and then they fight on land.
Okay.
Something the giant wall, when you actually go in, it's just a normal settlement.
Let me rephrase what I was saying. It's
how much extra work does it take to make these?
Think about because we're talking about many different areas, and it's in each area it just falls short a little bit. In every area, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it all comes together to me. It's really far short. Yeah. But when you're playing it, you're not disgusted by everything. You're just like, look at this one thing.
Yeah. Every now and then you're like, this is disgusting.
Yeah. You're like, if they fix this would be fine. And then you go over, if they fix this would be okay. And it's just like you said, glaring things that it brings it overall down, but every area that you're in, you're like, look at
so amazing. Also, something, I don't know if you've noticed this, but Rome Total War was really, really good at placing you in the terrain that you're fighting in. Yeah. So on the world map, if your army happens to be standing with a river to the east side and like trees to the left side, or to the west, let's say,
you have
and an army attacks you from the north, that's exactly what the battlefield will look like. Yeah. Warhammer, it's not the case. There's set pieces, and it doesn't matter if my army fights here or there or there or here or there. It's the same fucking map.
It's like, in this area, this is the map you fight on. In this area, this is the map you fight on.
These things are egregious levels of laziness, and I don't understand how Creative Assembly can make something so good and then make something so shit and expect people to pay more money for the shit.
I think but that's again where you're getting into, like I said, they gave you what you wanted. Because let's just take this overall. We're not talking in a game. You want a game that can do this and can do this. This is if someone looked at you and said, tell me what you want in a Total War type game that would make it like, we've given you Rome, now it's magical. What do you have to have in a magical game? Dragons and this, like, they've given you the tropes. Mm-hmm. They've given the tropes, and
to play devil's advocate, I would argue that they already have all the things that we want in Rome. So why not build off of Rome, like the structure of that? Why start from zero and then get to an end point that they know people aren't going to be happy with? They know that they deliver a product that with so many glaring disappointments. Why not start from a place that they already know is successful and then add all those other things? I want For me, it has to be a Total War game with Warhammer. It's not a Warhammer game squeezed into Total War.
I see what you mean. Another Total War note, what I'm really looking forward to, and I hope they fix because I've heard some iffy things about it, is Three Kingdoms Total War.
So I haven't heard anything about it. What do you care?
Basically, I've watched a little bit because I saw that it was coming out and I lost my mind because I love the Three Kingdoms so much. And I'm not going to buy it. I think it's out now. I'm not going to get it right away.
I can't justify buying anything anymore. Right when it releases.
But I remember a guy talking about there's going to be 2 modes for it. One will be like classic Total War mode.
Yeah,
where you do have generals.
Fantasy mode.
The other one's going to be where you have the heroes.
Yeah.
Where it's going to be the Three Kingdoms story. But they said that so far, like the battles and stuff, they were looking at it and they're like, there's nothing unique. There's nothing to make me go, oh, Three Kingdoms Total War. It's just
reskins.
It's just reskins and stuff, and the units are all kind of, and they were like the guys who were playing this are like professional YouTube Total War players, and they were just like
they're uninspired.
They said that when they were given this, they were told like, you gotta tell us anything you think about this, and they said they were really hopeful that they were going to like take their advice, and they actually did delay the release because they were going to rework some things.
Well, that's good.
So it might actually not be out now. I know it was originally supposed to be out in March, I think.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
But yeah,
March
I am
25th.
so excited for that. I really think it could be a lot of fun.
Me too.
It could be terrible.
That's the thing with, fuck, man. We shouldn't have to say that. We should be able to trust developers to make the product that we expect them to make. That's like going to McDonald's and be like, I hope I get a cheeseburger today. It's like I go and I order a fucking big
old one.
I order a Big Mac and I get like a fish fillet. Like, oh well, this one wasn't a good one. Hopefully next time I get a cheeseburger.
It's true, and you should, but that's one of those things in a perfect world. But the world is not perfect. And then there's also times where you have to think, like, I am becoming a much more discerning gamer because of you.
And I consider myself a pessimist most of the time.
And you are a pessimist. You are a bit of, and that's the thing. I had this conversation. Jerry actually, I can't remember what I got after him for, but he said that I'm very much, I tend to be an apologist. And it ticked me off a little bit because I was like, no, I'm not an apologist. It's just like, I'm trying to find a way. It's like, all right, can I find a way where I'm okay with this? I don't have to be like happy and this game is amazing. It's just like, all right, I can accept this.
Mm-hmm.
And what point do I, like, just so I'm not fueling the angry demon inside of myself, you know, like, just where am I going to be like, all right, I'm okay. Yeah. And there's times like talking with Jerry, it's just like, dude, I get what you're saying. It's not that it's the meme. You're not wrong. You're just kind of being an asshole, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, there's times where it's like, right doesn't mean, like, right doesn't necessarily mean that you are correct. Like, you're correct, you're not right. You know what I mean?
I think I get you.
It's just, there's times where it's not worth
bringing up.
There's certain things. Yeah. And that's why I try to be with games, because it's like you said, there's so many things that you could look at and just be like, this pisses me off.
And it's such a buyer's market right now.
Yeah.
If you're a gamer right now, I think that you owe it to yourself to be discerning, because you have so much choice. And if you're settling for a game that you don't really, really, really love playing, then you're wasting your time and money.
Yeah. And that one of the things that I love about I love that nostalgia is such a thing, because it's great and it's bad, because if you didn't play X game before, you're not going to like it now.
Yeah, I can't. I've never played any Link. Zelda Link game.
The newest one.
I tried playing Ocarina of Time. You know, everyone says it's great. Couldn't get into it.
Well, and that's the thing. It was great for when it came out, and I still love that game, and I'll play it all the time. But I'm also one of those guys. I'm not. You know, I can go back and sink back into, okay, I know that the camera does this and that, but I know how to work it. And you're just sitting there going, where's that extra joystick? I can't turn around.
How do I control the fucking camera?
I have to press Z every time just to center the camera.
Like, I bet you I could go back and play Pokemon Snap right now. Not because it's a good game, but because I played it when I was a kid.
Pokemon Snap is a game that I think was I actually really enjoyed Pokemon Snap, but it was one that doesn't have great replayability. No. It's one of those ones that was great to play through the first time and discover the secret.
Dude, I didn't get any secrets.
You just played?
Dude, I was so, I didn't know what I was missing. Like, I would go through the levels again and again and again, and I would be like looking around and and I'm like, I don't get it. Like,
Some of the things were like you have to throw the apple like this to lead the guy here, and then this guy will come out swooping out.
I never got into any of that. Yeah, maybe I was too young. I didn't like understand the interactiveness.
You know what game I've
just
actually...
taking pictures of Jigglypuff over and over again.
I don't know if you've ever played any of the Sonic games.
Only a little bit.
But I played, like,
I can remember my friend used to, like, way back when I was like 8 years old, she used to have a Genesis, and we played Sonic 1 or 2. And I just watched her play. She was really good. But then we got a Dreamcast, which is a system I really wish had done well. Because Dreamcast was pretty fucking awesome.
I barely remember. I don't remember which one that looked like.
The Dreamcast, yeah, I mean, it was... Anyway, it was a Sega system, and I'm really sad it didn't do well. But they had Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2. And a lot of people talk shit about them. Sonic Adventure 1, it's one of those things, it's full of glitches. And there's times like I suffered from any of the glitches, and what the fuck? Why did that happen? Like, I can remember this one glitch. I was watching Game Grumps, and they were playing that, and, you know, Sonic has all the things you go around, and he goes up and around this thing, and then he gets to one part, and suddenly he just stops and it slowly starts pushing him, and he just falls through the ground. Like, there's no water around him. Like, it's a straight path that you can't miss, and he just falls on the ground. And I remember that happening to me a couple of times. I was so angry. But I love that game. I won't play it again. But Sonic Adventure 2, they're actually playing it right now in Game Grumps, and me and Jerry and my brothers played that game to death. But the biggest thing we did with it was the chows. They have something on there. You remember, like, the Tamagotchi things?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that in the game, and they had this whole thing like with the Dreamcast. They had the memory cards, but you put the memory card in the controller.
Okay.
And then you could, but the memory card was also like a Tamagotchi essentially. And the reason they did that was for the Sonic games and a couple other ones. But you could put the guy on there and do little things with him to level him up.
Cool.
And then in game you could get animals and things to level him up and make him look really cool. And we would spend hours just going out pit finding like phoenixes and unicorns and dragons, and then give him to the little chow, and he'd get a horn or he'd start breathing fire. And we would spend hours doing that, and it was so much fun. And I want to do that again because it is actually quite fun.
Do you think that you'll have this kind of nostalgia for games you're playing today?
Some of them maybe, but not the same.
Do you have any game that you have that much of a connection with nowadays? I would say maybe the only thing that I've played in the last decade with that kind of connection is Factorio.
I think it is one of those things, like, because of how we're adults, and because you and I are so invested in games, and regardless of if you go into like the deep how to make games or if you're just watching, because you and I both watch a lot of Let's Plays. We watched Jacksepticeye, and let's say all we watched was Jacksepticeye. How often does Jacksepticeye talk about the graphics and how this looks and how that looks? And it's just, even if he doesn't know what he's talking about, which I think he does, at least a little bit, you start to get into the point where you're like, yeah, you look at this and you start appreciating this. And because we have YouTube that's letting us share, because if we never had YouTube and we were just playing games, I don't think you and I would have the same problems we do with games as we do, just because we've been able to watch people who know what they're talking about and know games and know game design. It's just made us more critical. Mm-hmm. We view games with a more critical eye because we know that there are things out there that it's like, this was not just they had a mistake. It's like, this was a lazy decision. This was bullshit. This should not have gotten through to the end product.
And our standards are getting higher and higher now because we can see what indie developers are doing.
Yeah, what some people are doing.
Incredible.
Like what some people are doing. Like the guy, what was the game you were talking about earlier? The one that's the AOE2 kind of. Ymir?
Yeah, Ymir. It's one guy.
One guy. And the scale he's doing that on, he's taken Age of Empires, which is like, it's 20 years old at least now. Yeah. And he's made it into a huge epic game, which is like, at this point, I love that because it's like, you don't have to have the amazing graphics. It's like, we have amazing systems now, so let's take that old game and just make it pretty similar and just make it massive.
Mm-hmm. And persistent real world, and all this stuff. And like really lifelike economies and stuff.
Yeah.
So I watched a YouTube video a little while ago. I don't remember who it was by. I don't remember the title. The title was something like New Game Engine. Mm. There's... Do you know much about game engines? I don't know much.
I know that they're the thing that you have to build your game on.
Yeah, and they're extremely expensive. And they're
and the current one's like Unreal 4 is a big one.
Yeah, and they end up being a huge percentage of the game budget.
Yeah.
And the developers have to work around the limitations of the engine and blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently recently, production was just finished on an open source game engine, which is completely free. Not only is it free, but this was what the YouTube video was saying, but it was so efficiently coded that it's only 300 megabytes.
That's insane.
Anyone can download it, and in the YouTube video, he was showing all these demonstration videos that videos of games that people are making to demonstrate the power of the system.
Yeah.
It looks like a AAA title.
That's awesome.
And he was saying in the video how indie developers are already threatening AAA studios. They're threatening to start taking larger and larger chunks of the market share of the video game industry.
They should.
And so now, if indie developers can get their hands on high-end engines for free, that's probably the only thing limiting somebody like the Ymir guy from creating something of Ymir quality versus of StarCraft quality.
Yeah. And that's really awesome. I'm glad to hear that, because the biggest thing, I don't care if there's big companies. The problem I have is that the companies they're cookie cutters right now.
Yeah.
They're not trying to make things new. They're trying to ride this wave, and they're not trying to look for a new wave.
Yeah.
They're not pushing the boundaries of what video games can do. And we're at a time where it's just like, look, what you're doing, what you did 2 years ago, what you did 5 years ago, it's not, you don't need, just doing that over again. There's so much more potential out there. And yes, it's going to take time and money, but I'm sorry. I've always looked at, people who are filthy rich. I understand wanting to be rich, but there's levels of, some of these companies, those guys could take half the pay and still be fabulously wealthy. That's why it's just if you were to just channel, let's say they just channel, they took 3% off of their salaries, everybody, and channel.
Well, not even salaries. What if they just use the money more intelligently?
Yeah,
how did Elder Scrolls Online cost $200 million? Do you know that? It cost $200 million to create that game.
And that game had major problems.
I want someone to fucking justify the expense of $200 million. I want them
a game that now is still only middlingly okay, right?
Yeah, from what I've heard, it's garbage.
Still garbage.
Well, I've never heard any good reviews about it.
Okay.
I've always heard, right when it was released, I heard it was unplayable. And most recently, I heard that it was playable, but no one's playing.
Right, okay.
And it's free to play now, so it's not even like Bethesda's making any money. So I want the people of Bethesda to fucking justify the expense of $200 million in light of the fact that they have so many other IPs that people want them to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Justify how that $200 million was better spent on ESO rather than, another Elder Scrolls game, single player, or a whole new IP. I'd rather them go into a completely new IP and fail. At least they tried.
Yeah.
Rather than dragging
absolutely.
Elder Scrolls Corpse through another fucking.
Because Elder Scrolls is a game that I think still has it's not Elder Scrolls is such that they could keep doing different games with Elder Scrolls, and they could all be it would not be new, and they could add improvements, but it would all be that similar. You're a dude in a magical world. Go have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Fallout, you're a dude in a post-apocalyptic world. Go have fun. That's amazing. That's they stole two markets right there. They just took a concept, because that's all it is. The story in either of those games means very little.
Very little.
What are you doing in either of those games? You're going out to get the best weapons. To if you're talking Fallout, you're trying to find the best guns. You're trying to do all this. There's so many things. And then Fallout 4, I played it, and I heard there was a lot of complaints for that, because basically they added in a bunch of stuff people wanted and then made a terrible game to put it in.
Yeah. And
because I played it, and it's boring.
I haven't played Fallout 4. I will not allow myself to play it unless I mod it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so much content of it now, but I've never played it. And it genuinely sounds unplayable without a significant host of mods.
I played it, and it's they've got some interesting things, but I just found it to be very boring. I remember one of the complaints about it, and I have to agree with this, is in Fallout 3, which is I played, and it's a great game.
Yeah.
For me, it's just I'm not a big post-apocalyptic person, so that's why I didn't play it as much.
It grows old on me quickly.
Yeah, but the power armor, which in that game was something which was pretty tough to get.
Mm-hmm.
But in Fallout 4,
you start with it, right?
You start with it pretty much. They gave it to you right away, and it was just And then it's like, yeah, but you can't get the power for it, the power cells for it. They're hard to get. And it's like not that hard to find.
And that's such a. This is why I don't believe that gamers run these companies anymore, because I think most gamers would agree that adding a mechanic like that in an attempt to limit the use of the power armor is less desirable than just giving me permanent power armor at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I'd rather wait until the end of the game and then get power armor with no strings attached than get power armor in the first 10 minutes but never be able to use it without these stupid power cells.
Yeah. That's one of the things I think, with the modding community. Like, it's such a good thing that we have the modding community, because you have so many people out there who they're good at they're good at coding, they're good at doing these things, and they will see these problems and they will fix them. Because there's so many people out there, and like the modding community, it's not just dudes modding, it's a community. And so you have a lot of people out there who they are working, like they'll work together to fix these issues. But I'm wondering if on the flip side of that is if some game developers aren't planning on that.
I just had a great idea I'm going to tell you after the podcast.
But you know what I mean? Like, some game developers are making games, like they're cutting corners because they know the modders will fix it later for them.
Yes. That is infuriating.
I will say,
I almost feel like there should be fucking legal action for that.
I will say in some games like Stellaris.
Horrible game.
Just hold on.
Yeah, I know. You know I was going to say that.
I know you were going to say it. But Stellaris, the problem with Stellaris is, one, I don't think it's quite your type of game. Like, it goes, you love RTS, but it goes in a different direction than you would. And it's a long game. But what Stellaris has done well, I think, is like they've worked and they've put out a workable game. A game that has flaws, but it's not a game where you're like, how can this be? It's like, look, we're still working on this. And I'll be honest, lately they haven't fixed the things. They've been kind of going, hey, look at this new thing, so you don't look at this old thing. But the modding community has been really good with that. The only problem is that they update their shit so frequently. They break the month. But that's where a thing where it's like, you've got to be, if you want to do that kind of thing where you're like, all right, we are going to put out this game which isn't quite complete and has some flaws, and we'll let the modders fix it for now while we work towards, and then later on we'll make it more stable by giving them the update so that these mods are not necessary anymore. You've got to be able to work with your modders, because otherwise you make an unplayable game.
I'm also more lenient to a game like Stellaris because of the nature of the space 4K. I understand that most of what I want from my ideal space 4K game just isn't possible yet by technology standards. But I'm way less lenient with a game like CA, where they are just making the same game, Creative Assembly, where they are just making the same game they've made 10 times with new skins and better graphics.
And then and various minor changes.
Yes, I expect the bare minimum to be as good as the last game in terms of mechanics.
And you'll have MacGuffins, and you'll have things that, like, you're gonna have times where it didn't work. That's something you have to accept. But there's also times when you're looking at a lot of their games and you're just going, okay, this was a good try, and if this was an alpha, I'd be flipping amazed. But this is your completed product.
And you're charging full price for this.
You're charging full price.
You're charging $60 for this, where, again, I can go into the $5 or below section in Steam, and I can live there for the rest of my life.
Yep. You can find games in there, like, you can find games that they might not be as flashy, they might not have the graphics, but they will satisfy that. Like, whatever's pissing you off about this game satisfies that.
You can go on there, you can get the original AI Warfare, or AI War, I think it's called. I don't know if you played that yet, you should play it. I think it's like $5 on Steam. It went on sale a little while ago for even cheaper because the second one just came out, War 2. But, dude, that scratches so many of the itches that Stellaris doesn't scratch. Yeah. That was the game that I was talking about where I was building wormholes and then sending like super nukes through the wormhole.
I really want to play that.
Wiping all the life out from an entire solar system.
There's a game you need to check out. Like, watch some YouTube videos. Starborn. Because that game, I think, is potentially, like, I tried it and it looks really good. I was having some issues with connection. But 3-month reset. Like, every 3 months is a hard reset of everybody in that server.
Is there any persistent servers?
No, it's just everything is 3 months. But the way they do it is, rather than like starting a game and it's like, okay, you had this massive fleet and now you have nothing. Well, it's like, okay, well, now you go and recruit one ship. They give you 10. Like, as a thing. Like, at the beginning, the list of achievements you can go through. Like he said, the first hour of play,
will, if you didn't have those achievements, would be like 5 or 6 hours or 7 hours of play, and that's why they do it, because like we're resetting it every 3
What
months.
does the game look like? I mean, is it real time battle or what?
Like I said, it's one of those ones that's got a lot of time. Like you'll send your fleets and it'll take half an hour to go there,
yeah,
and then
like a timer.
and then you can go in there and do the real battle and all that.
What if you're not there? What, after the 30 minutes, it just auto resolves?
It does the battle. Like I'm not, like I said, I didn't get to do much.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying look into it.
I will though.
But it does look like it has potential, and that's what I think. And one of the things is like you go and do a battle, and it'll give you like cards and stuff, and they're like you use these, and it'll be like this will give your ships like plus 10% damage. This one gives them plus 20% missile damage. This one will give them shields. This one makes your scouting ships travel faster and stuff like that.
At what point are we all in like a virtual reality pod? Like the Gundam games in Tokyo?
Soon, I hope. I would love to play one of those.
Yeah, fucking soon, hopefully. Hopefully Amazon comes out with a super cheap VR pod.
When VR is like to the point where it's just like something plugs into the back of your head and you're just now playing.
Yeah, Matrix style.
Yeah.
Bananas. Nobody would live in the real world.
That's why I think for something like that, you'd have to be like, look, you want to play this? We are making it across the board. This thing will only let you play for like 3 hours at a time.
Or it dilates time.
That's what I was going to just say that.
Yeah.
Because if it's something that connects to your head, if it's based on thought, you could be playing for like 7 hours in a very short amount of time.
Think about how excruciating time would be in normal life, though. Like, if I know I have to leave to get to a meeting in 10 minutes, and I think to myself, shit, 10 minutes of playing time, and I plug in, and I live like 75 years of subjective time.
Well, see, that would be
in that 10 minutes.
That would be the thing.
And then after 10 minutes, my alarm goes off, I unplug, I go to the meeting, and the meeting is 30 minutes long, and in the meeting, I'm sitting there for 30 minutes like, fuck, this is so much wasted time.
I think that would be the kind of thing where they'd have to limit it. So you couldn't be doing 35 years in 10 minutes, but you could be doing several hours. Like, they would have a thing.
I feel like something like that's going to be open source, and it's going to be, you're just going to have a dial that cranks infinitely, like, I want to never come out of this.
That's, again, why I said hard things. Like, it's, you've been playing for 3 hours, it kicks you.
We might be in the simulation right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
We might have just selected the option that we don't remember that we're in a simulation right before we started. Yeah. This is our 10 minutes before work, before flipping burgers somehow.
Yeah,
Still
we
flipping
chose
burgers
this.
in the
We
year
chose
7.
this.
Yeah.
We're just sitting here talking. It's like, I could be doing something, but no.
Yeah. Hey, in the year 70 gazillion thousand, okay, there's nothing to do but VR.
Yeah. There's a game I was actually going to mention just a second. One game we haven't played much of, we should see if they've done any updates for, was that Colony Survival.
Dude, I've gotten pretty far in Colony Survival.
Yeah. I haven't gotten very far, just because it's kind of bare bones right now. But it's
when I say far, I just mean I've built a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Like there isn't really anywhere for you to go with it. Though.
Well, the thing I like about that is you don't really have to go anywhere because of the whole, like, you prepare for the night and then you can have many zombies coming at you. Mm. And that to me is good. Like, as long as you can just build this tower defense kind of scenario, I'm cool with that.
Mm. Did I ever show you my build right now?
No, you haven't shown me.
So I cut a door into the side of a mountain at the sea level, and that door goes horizontally for a very long time.
Right.
And on the wall, on either wall, there's 2 levels. The bottom level are slingers. The top level are bowmen. And then at it goes horizontally until it's directly under the peak of the mountain.
Yeah. And
then it goes directly up. And there's a spiral staircase.
Yeah.
And then in the walls, it's separated by a long distance. In the walls, there's crossbowmen and gunners all the way up. And then when you get to the top, it goes across the peaks from one mountaintop to another one. And that's where I'm at right now. I haven't built the
structure,
the top castle yet. But I'm already at the point where I feel like the zombies have no chance of getting up.
That's why I want to see if they added more like powerful things.
Well, I know I read some forums where people made mods to make the zombies more powerful to justify more elaborate defenses.
Well, yeah, and in a game like that, you've got to be able to, like, I can understand if now they don't have that, but I'm sure they're going to work towards that.
Yeah.
Because right now it's just like, look, this is the game, you can try it. We're working on this, we're showing you that this could be really cool. But yeah, like you said, a path like that, I doubt anything's ever even getting to your crossbowmen.
Yeah, probably not. I think I have like 1,000, just that slingers and the bowmen is like 1,000 colonists.
Yeah. And those would be drawing things in. Now the thing would be to set up a colony of like 10,000 colonists and see if the zombies would come at it. But again, you've set up the defenses that are not going to be broken for quite a while.
Probably never. Yeah. Well, I want to finish it, and then I'll see how it goes, and then mod it out and see how that goes. But who knows?
Yeah.
I finally went back and started a new Factorio game. It was like
I noticed you played the other day.
It was like 6 months. I just started that playthrough like last week. But I'm playing vanilla with no mods because I'm playing an experimental 1.7 version. 0.17. Yeah, new patch, which is basically 1.0.
Have they added anything new in the new?
Well, they totally revamped a lot of the like quality of life stuff, like so like all the user interface stuff. That's all been revamped, and it's all really nice now. But man, this break is exactly what I needed to clear my mind of Factorio, because this playthrough I'm doing right now is the best I've ever done by a huge margin. My factory's so efficient, it's so successful. Like you know how they have the tiered belt system, yellow, red, blue. Normally I go from yellow to red, and I usually red like 30% of my base, and then I like bootstrap my way up to robots. And I skip blue, but it's a real struggle, and usually my base falls apart at that point, and like I don't ever get to the mega base phase.
Did you just get tired of it?
Yeah, and I do the same thing with science. There's 7 science packs.
Yeah.
There's six normal ones. And so what I usually do is I'll automate like the first 4, and then I bootstrap the last 2 to get up to like space.
Right. Bootstrap is the buying app.
No. Bootstrap is when you're not making a factory that makes something. You're making like a ghetto rig.
So that you can just
make you're like most likely hand inserting and stuff like that. It's not going to continue working if you're not there operating it.
Right.
And so in this game, not only have I not bootstrapped anything, but I actually skipped red. So I went from yellow belt straight to blue, and now I have 100% factory of blue belts.
And they're the fastest belt, right?
Yeah, the fastest belt. And I'm skipping solar as well, because solar's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But they actually made solar more accessible. They made it so that you can get it in a really early game now. But
that's good.
I usually go from coal in a steam factory, producing power, to solid fuel. Okay. And then I usually go from that to solar and nuclear. And I'm completely skipping solar, nuclear, and solid fuel. I'm on right now. My factory has been run by 320 steam engines burning coal.
Right.
I'm in the process of finishing a 2,000 steam engine build, and it's going to be running on it's going to be running on rocket fuel.
Nice.
So I just finished a rocket fuel factory, and I've built like maybe 80% of the 2,000.
And so that'll last quite a bit.
That should be like 2 gigawatts.
Pretty good.
So right now the biggest nuclear setup I've ever seen is 2.2 gigawatts.
Wow. So that's quote still about the same amount.
It's gonna be tremendous, but it takes up a preposterous amount of space.
And I'm guessing you got to worry a lot about the aliens and stuff.
Actually, man, no.
No.
So in this new game that I started, I didn't know this until just recently. Like in the last 5 hours of play, I actually went and explored a little bit. I'm on an island.
Right.
I'm on a giant fucking island. I started on an island.
No aliens?
Well, there's a couple bases. I killed them all.
So now you'd have to fill in.
Yeah, I'd have to fill my way to the mainland.
But is it possible that you could pollute it so much that there would just be aliens like camped along the shores waiting?
They are already.
They are.
Yeah.
So as soon as you connect it, it's just going to be waves of aliens.
Yeah.
So you can connect one line and just have this line of weapons.
Exactly. So my intention with this game is
you can save so much power that way.
Well, my intention with this game, the plan I'm playing now, is to launch a rocket vanilla style without any mods. Because I started downloading mods at like the 300-hour mark, and now it's at like the 1,000-hour mark almost. Yeah. And so I've played like 700 hours modded.
Right.
And so it's good to like reset the palette and go back to vanilla.
Yeah. And
so once I launch a rocket with this one, I'm going to stop playing this until 0.17 stable comes out, update to 0.17 stable, and then wait until the modders update the mods that I use, specifically Robot War.
Yeah.
And this base, there's enough resources on the island to enter Mega Base phase.
And then you'll have to start going to other places to get.
Yeah. And hopefully by then it will be stable 0.17, and I can get my warfare mods like robots.
That's awesome.
So robot army.
Okay, man, you got to show me when you actually connect to the mainland. I want to see that setup you have.
It's gonna be a corridor of death.
Yeah, and then the aliens are just gonna swarm, and it's just gonna be death, or they're just gonna overrun you.
They might. They did upgrade the biters a lot.
I would
look
love
different
like
as well.
you're like, all right, here we go, and they just like you're like, I think I got it up, and they just totally destroy everything.
Blast right through the defenses. Yeah, it's possible. I could theoretically landfill very close but not connected, and then use robots to build an outpost, and then have robots ferrying equipment back and forth and building blueprints and expanding like that.
Well, I think what you would just build the corridor up until there's like 2 squares between you and the aliens, and then like you said, corridor of death. Yeah, and just like make it so that
I'm probably going to do it in such a way where the biters have as much advantage as possible.
Just connected on like one, so that it's just like fold in. Like.
I don't know. The game is so. It's more of a sense of achievement from any game I've ever played, except maybe World of Warcraft back when I was doing PvP and TBC. So many acronyms.
Yeah.
But that was a real sense of achievement because playing on a mage, you could overcome like any gear difference.
Right. I don't know. I like Factorio, but for me, it's just the whole like I'm okay with a game where it's like you build up to be able to build more. Mm-hmm. But for that one, it's just the entire purpose being towards a factory.
Have you seen Satisfactorio?
I've seen a bit of it.
Yeah. Would you be more interested in that?
No, because the 3D aspect of it was never like I liked the whole down like the overhead building that way. I had no problem with that. I was totally for that. It's just I don't know.
Building for the sake of building is not good enough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
and
mods.
I'm also like I heavily lean towards like the magical mystic side of it, and this one is like when it comes to like factories and modern day things, I'm not as into it.
That's true.
That might just be part of the reason.
They one of the things they do with 0.17 is they completely reworked a lot of the pathing AI, and I forget exactly how they said this, so I'm gonna just like make up words, but you'll understand the gist. They did something to allow the modding community to insert their own AI into the game.
Okay.
So what the significance of that is, up until 0.17, there weren't any mods that really add units into the game. Like for example, the robot warfare mod, nobody uses it because it has to be used in very specific circumstances because it's very broken because it uses the biters AI.
Okay.
It uses the biters pathing AI and combat AI and all that, which is really, really bad for everything except the biter. It only works for the biter. And up until 1.17, modders weren't able to use any other AI. They had to use the built-in stuff. But now they can insert their own, if I remember correctly from the video I watched. And so now we're going to see much more complex mods that really radically change the game. And you know what the one I want is?
What?
I want someone to make Factorio into SimCity.
That would be cool.
Where you can start building like roads and city blocks and buildings and like people live in it and they all have like autonomous lives. I don't actually directly affect them.
Right.
But then my factory funds the construction of this stuff.
That's cool. That would be very cool. SimCity is a game I really wish that they could do, because I haven't kept up with it. I played SimCity 2000. I'm sure you did too, right?
I don't remember which one.
Was it the one like
where like aliens can come and shit?
Aliens,
well, I guess that was all right.
Like when you started, I always remember when you started. It said something, and I could never figure out what it said. It was like reticulating sublime or something like that. That is one thing that sticks out with me. But I love that game, except it was really almost impossible to just start a new game. You had to use I could never get a new game to work.
What do you mean work?
What I mean is I'd run out of money and go into debt and just crash. But then they had the one you could load, and it was like the entire map had roads already over it, and then they had in the corners, the 4 corners were waterfalls covered in
hydro dams.
Hydro dams, yeah. And then you could just build, and I'd always start a little early so that I'd slowly unlock like airports would come later, and then eventually you get up to building those like giant things. But I'd always fuck up and I'd build them near an airport, so then all my planes would crash and set things on fire. And it was fun. It was just after a while for me it got to the point where it's like, all right, I don't It's like, what do I want to build? All right, I guess a residential zone here.
It needs. That's why I don't buy City Skylines. I don't get the feeling like it has enough like vertical scaling. Like there will never be something. There will never not be something for me to do in Factorio. Yeah. Even if I've done everything that the game has to offer, there's tens of thousands of mods. Many of them are radically game changing.
Yeah.
There's a mod that changes Factorio into. It's called. I think it's called like Buzz or something like that, where it removes the player character and it removes almost all the stuff in the game and replaces it with mechanics and things from a beehive. And you control a beehive now.
That's interesting,
actually. And like like worker bees and like building stuff and like.
That's really cool.
You're like growing. So like that's to the degree that the mod can change the gameplay. And so with a game like that, I don't feel realistically like I'll ever have nothing to do in the game. Maybe I'll get sick of the game and stop playing it. But
it's like modders now are what game companies used to be back, like even in N64.
Yes, they have the passion.
Like when games first came out, you had people creating because it was amazing and new, and like people didn't want to give them money, and so they got around things like some of the first original Nintendo games, like. The things that they could do on the original Nintendo, like it got to the point where they were putting like video clips and stuff on these little cartridges, like Mega Man 8, I think it was I believe it was for the original Nintendo, it may have been for Super, but it was on that cartridge, and they had like voice acting and stuff in the game because during the cutscenes, but they had actual like anime cutscenes.
Yeah.
And like nowadays, and then when 3D came out, like. At first, they started to do amazing things with 3D, but now it's kind of gotten to the point where we realize with some of these games, they were giving us amazing cutscenes, and that was about it. Whereas before they were, sometimes I feel the limitations of the system are what really define the generation, but not in a bad way. Mm-hmm. Like it showed the human creativity when they were able to take these limitations and make fucking amazing games, like Chrono Trigger. You've heard of that game, but you haven't played it.
Like I would say today we're not limited. Most games aren't limited by the system.
They're limited by the money.
They're limited by the developer's will, their desire to make the product that they want to make.
And the problem is a lot of these companies that used to be making these amazing games, they're not out to make an amazing game. They're out to put their label on something.
Yeah.
And so they'll throw these games out there, and like there's so many times where I watch Game Grumps a lot, and he's like, how did they ship this? And he frequently asks that question. And sometimes
like Fallout 76.
Yeah.
The garbage fire.
Yeah, it was
shockingly poor quality.
Yeah. Product. And that's the thing, like, and that was their online one, right?
Yeah.
So both of their online games, their Elder Scrolls 1 and their Fallout 1 have been terrible. And it's just like at that point, if you'd screwed up one, it would have been like, come on guys. But
Fallout 76 was such a garbage fire that people were suing them.
Yeah.
I believe that company like Creative Assembly, for example, I believe that they can quantify the requirements for certain features.
Right.
And there are people who are not gamers, who are not passionate, and who are...
They're only worried about the business end of things.
They're the money people. They're the sales and marketing people. They are looking at a board of features and they're just crossing shit out. And like when it comes to Warhammer Total War, Hot Seat was one of the things on there, and like there are experts who give them an estimate. They're like, oh yeah, that will take us an extra week or month or 6 hours.
And all they care about is we need to get this out sooner so that we can get money. And it's like, if you were to take the time...
And the money person's just cross-check out. No, fuck that, fuck this, fuck that, fuck this, fuck that, fuck
and
this.
It's just like, if you're going to let the money-making aspect of the game be why you're doing it, you're not going to get... Like, it's a cash grab. And you have to be... There's a big difference between a cash grab to me and a cash cow. Sure. Like, I understand those ones that they have their cash cow, like Zelda is a Nintendo cash cow. But
or like Clash of Clans or some shit like that.
But Clash of Clans is something that's made...
Or like Minecraft.
Minecraft, I would say, though, Minecraft is a game that they have been developing, and they have constantly developed, and it was a simple game, but it was not developed with the point of making money. It was developed to be a Lego.
Yeah.
It was developed to be virtual Lego,
and they've constantly added to it, and it's worth the buy. If it's a kind of game you're going to enjoy, the building like that, it's worth buying.
Are there consistent purchases in it? Like, is there in-game purchases
No.
in it? Oh, wow.
No, like
impressed.
Minecraft is
Good for them.
Minecraft is like you purchase it and that's it. It's done. And then
That's that takes nowadays in the game industry. This is a sad thing to say, but that takes a lot of what's the word, like conviction, maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think it's also you have to understand. Like it takes because there are game companies where why do they introduce in-game purchases? It's because they let the money. Someone up at top said people like our game. Let's give them more things to buy, and it did not fit with the game. There are games who do like I have no problem with in-game purchases.
Guild
It's
Wars
just-
sounds like they do it well.
Guild Wars, exactly. Guild Wars does it perfectly because Guild Wars, when it comes to anything, it's all cosmetic except for you can buy things that will give you boosts, but everything that you can get in the gem store, the gems are the paid currency,
Yeah.
you can get just by playing. And like they'll give you, and like every day you log in, they'll give you something. And one of the things is 4 times a month they give you the Black Lion chest, and you open that up, and it'll have a quick access to the bank. So like you're just instead of going to the bank, you just use one of these items, and it's you use one and then you access your bank, and you can go. They're paid items, but you have a chance to get one of those instant repair items, so that you don't have to go find a thing to repair on. And then like there's other things like they give you celebration boosters, which gives you 100% increase to experience. Like it's a game. The way they design it, it's so friendly.
Yeah.
They're so friendly. The way the game is designed is it's designed for you to be cooperative, and even like when you
Friendship Quest.
like not even friendship quest. It's just like you're running around and you're in the main world. You're not fighting people. You're fighting the NPCs.
Yeah.
And so like you see someone has been knocked down, you run over, revive them, you get some experience for reviving them. You don't have to do anything else like that. It's just like, oh hey, I'll help this guy up, get some experience, and then I'm on my way. Maybe I help him clear out these things. Or when you get into like the PvP areas, like you don't have to know so much, you just have to play.
Yeah.
And you'll learn. And there's sometimes people are better, you have better groups, but you know, it's done in such a way that there's no pay to win. And like if you see someone who spent a lot of money, he just looks really cool. And the thing is, you can look like Jerry's character. I have a lot of paid stuff. Like I'll go in and I'll save up some, because you can buy the paid currency with gold.
With in-game currency.
With in-game currency.
Okay.
So that's the thing. It's not easy to. It's not as easy to.
Can
make
you go
money
the
as-
other way as well? Can you use the
Yeah.
paid currency to buy gold?
Yeah, you can.
So it is sort of pay to win.
Well, the thing is, there are one of the things they did with the later ones, like legendary weapons, for example. You can go and if you get enough gold, you can buy one of the original legendary weapons because they're on the auction house. But any of the other 2 expansions, you have to do the quests and everything to get those weapons. So you can't just pay to win. It's like, yes, if you put a lot of money in, you can get a lot of the cool stuff that other people don't have. But anything you can get is just like it's a handy thing that will help you. And it might mean that you can get things a little bit faster than someone else, but it's not going to be like, you know, it took me 7 months to do this and it only took you 2 weeks because you bought this. No, it's like, it took me 7 months to get all the materials I needed for this. And for you, you just had like one of the big things is the cost of gold. You have your home instance and you can get like harvesting notes for like ores and different things, but you can still only use them once a day. So some of them will be like a rare ore, and it means you just have an extra place that you can get this rare ore once per day.
Okay.
So it's not like, oh, I can go and mine. Look at I have all this. Like, no, it's nothing that's going to throw off the economy. You won't even notice it. It'll be just a blip.
Okay.
It's just a slight advantage.
Going back to the salespeople running development companies. I don't remember who this interview was with. I think it was with Steve Jobs.
Turns of luck, twists of fate, keep burning me. How am I gonna find the man I'm supposed to be?